Thank you, everybody, for coming to the Aaron Torres Podcast YouTube page. If you could do me one quick favor, see that little black subscribe button on the bottom of your screen? Go ahead, hit that little black subscribe button. Really does help this channel grow, my audience grow, and I appreciate it more than you know. Also, quick thank you to our presenting sponsor, Betfred Sportsbook and the Betfred Sportsbook app. Bet $50 on any game. Get up to $1,111 in free bets courtesy of the Betfred Sportsbook. Thank you again. Now, here's the video that you came here for. Let's keep it going. Let's head back to the SEC because there is a very interesting matchup in the SEC. A game in Starkville, Mississippi, 11 a.m. local time start, 12 Central on ESPN. LSU at Mississippi State. LSU a 10-point favorite in Starkville. The over-under is actually trickling up to about 54.5 as I record this. And what'll be interesting about this one? What's the real LSU, right? Because we saw, LSU, right? It's almost like I've used this analogy before. It's like Goldilocks and the Three Bears. Too hot, too cold, just right. One bed's too big, one bed's too small, one bed's just right. LSU on the one extreme got destroyed by Florida State. We all saw it. Florida State, 31 straight points in that game. But then on the flip side, LSU gets embarrassed. They come back, put up 72 against Grambling. And I know, can't take too much away from a game against Grambling, but there were some positives, I thought, from the LSU perspective. They did, that offense, to say the least, got back on track. 622 yards of total offense. Not bad. Beyond that, and this is important, did a very good job of reestablishing the run game. Struggled to run the ball, especially late against Florida State. Now, Florida State might just be that good, but at the same time, it was important for LSU to get back on track. They did. 6.5 yards per carry. Logan Diggs, the Notre Dame transfer, was excellent. 115 yards in that game. And then defensively, and Brian Kelly talked a lot about this in his Monday press conference this week, they let Harold Perkins cook. And I don't think it was a great statistical performance, but that was a legitimate complaint from LSU fans coming out of that Mississippi State game. It was like, oh, wait a second now. Why are we having Harold Perkins line up as a linebacker and essentially a spy for Jordan Travis when his best work is when he just goes and gets the football? So I expect a more active Harold Perkins for LSU. And from the Mississippi State side, we're going to see some interesting new developments for Mississippi State. Now, sadly, it goes without saying, we know what the biggest story around Mississippi State football is. That is that Mike Leach passed away since the end of last season. Awful story. You don't need me to tell you. From a football perspective, though, I don't know a lot of people realize this. Zach Arnett takes over as the head coach of that team. And what I think is very interesting is that he has chosen to go away from the air raid that made them so successful. Remember, Mississippi State won 9 games last year. They were pretty much competitive in just about every game except when they played Alabama and when they played Georgia. And so they go away from the air raid. It's more of a balance. And I get from Zach Arnett's perspective, you want more complementary football. He's a defensive coach. You don't want your quarterback throwing the ball 50 times a game. But against Arizona, and remember, they needed overtime to beat Arizona at home. Will Rogers threw the ball a grand total, I could not believe this, 17 times he threw the ball against Arizona. 17 times. He didn't throw it fewer than 37 times at any point last season. And so a Mississippi State team that moved the ball at will last year finished with 307 yards of total offense against a not very good Arizona defense. And I think I'm a little bit worried about Mississippi State. Now, the good news is that defense is still elite. It was elite last year. It is elite this year. A lot of older veteran guys. They got after Jaden DeLora big time in that game. 9 tackles for loss in that game, a bunch of sacks, a bunch of veteran guys from Mississippi State. Nathaniel Watson is the name to know defensively. Great linebacker, edge, just gets after the quarterback. In that Arizona game, had 10 tackles total, half a tackle for loss. Jeff Johnson had 2 TFLs. As I said, overall 9 TFLs. Now, in terms of a prediction, I do have one for this game. I actually like, again, and I know it's not very sexy to talk about, I do like the under. I like the under because Mississippi State plays real defense. I don't think that offense is good at all this year. I'm not here to criticize. I'm not a football coach. I'm not an X's and O's scheme genius. But when you have a quarterback, you have an entire offense that was recruited to run the air raid, I do think it's kind of weird that you go away from it. And again, I get you want to put your own stamp on it. I get you want to do your own thing. I just don't know if it's the move I would make with this specific personnel group with Will Rogers back at quarterback. I think LSU wins. I think they win pretty convincingly. I think this is something like 34-10, 34-30. I don't think Mississippi State moves the ball. I'd be worried if I'm a Mississippi State fan. Zach Arnett, everybody thought he was one of the hot young coordinators. The early returns are not good. I think it could be worse after Saturday.